Okay, you should have got a notification that we're live on YouTube, so I'm just gonna make sure the mic's muted when the Zoom comes up.
Can everyone hear me okay? I was just having some issues with my, okay, great. Thank
Alicia, can you do me a favor? Can you just check to see if it's streaming?
Yes, one moment, please.
Want to make sure it's all good to go before we start.
Yep, we are live.
Perfect. Okay, all right, we can get started. So, just going back. So just start with we didn't elect a chair for this committee, right? I don't think we did last meeting, so I'll just get it kicked off. So first we'll start with the land acknowledgement. I acknowledge with respect that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory, that the land on which we are gathered is a traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Boating. Boating is home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. So if I can have somebody to, actually, we'll just quickly do introductions before we get into the approval of the minutes. I invited Tessa Vecchio to join us today. She's oversees our corporate communications. So Tessa, I'll let you introduce yourself and then we'll just go around and you can meet the various committee members.
Thanks, Virginia, and thanks for having me at this meeting. I was super excited about it, actually, because heritage and culture plays a very special role in my heart personally. I used to be a summer student that worked at the Old Stone House many years ago. So I've always had a passion for heritage and culture. So thank you so much for including me in this meeting. As Virginia said, my name is Tessa, and I am responsible for corporate communications for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. So that is a pretty big portfolio in terms of media relations, anything you see on social media, our website. So it is quite expansive. We are a small but mighty team. So when I say comms department and comms team, it's myself with one person helping with social media and the website. So I'm super excited about this project though. So thank you for including me.
Jamie, you're kind of first up on the top of the screen. Do you want to start?
Okay, sure. Welcome, Tessa. I share your passion for history, and I was on the Historic Sites Board for a couple of terms, and I still volunteer there, so I love that as well. And I'm my background is I'm a retired librarian, so that's my background.
That's great. I should have also mentioned too, I was a member of the Historic Sites Board for a number of years as well. So in addition to being a student there, after I finished my studies, I was a member of the board for quite a long time.
Oh, nice.
Once I got the job here at the city, I decided I should probably get off of that committee and just focus on the city. So yeah.
But it is a fun group, so it's.
Oh my gosh, totally.
I actually hope to get back on it, actually.
Yeah.
But
oh, I love
another
it.
cycle. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, welcome and thank you.
Tammy.
Sorry, just unmuting my mic. Hi, I'm Tammy. I am an interior designer. I have a passion for adaptive reuse and heritage buildings, and of course, all that fancy stuff that I learned about at school. I like buildings. I like learning about history, and I was born and raised in Sault Ste. Marie, so I figured it's a great way to learn too.
Nicole?
Hi, my name is Nicole. I'm the chair of the Municipal Heritage Committee. I'm also the chair of the Friends of the Ermitanger Clark National Historic Site, and I work at the Sault Ste. Marie Museum.
Alex.
Hi there. I'm Alex White. I'm currently eating my lunch. It's my lunch break here at school. I'm a teacher at Superior Heights. One of the hats I wear is the vice chair of the local heritage committee. It's been a pleasure to be on the committee with such a great team, and like the passion for this committee is clear. Everybody has their own interests, and I love collaborating with all of you and getting all that knowledge and expertise into one group. It's really an amazing experience. Thank you, team.
And Lise.
I think she just wrote up in the chat. Uh,
No, I'm
She's just listening today.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so if everybody had a chance to review the minutes, if I could have a mover and a seconder, please.
I have a change to the minutes. Do I do that after it gets moved and seconded?
No, we would have to do that now.
Oh, all right. Well, maybe not a change, but a question. Under 6.3, when we're looking at social media, I thought maybe Elisa had quite a discussion about repurposing an existing Facebook account to let us know that currently it was the Doors Open account, and she talked about repurposing that in order not to lose the followers and I don't know whether you want that in the minutes or.
Alicia?
I think it was just thrown out there as a suggestion as something that could happen. If it's really up to the committee if they'd like to see it there, but I think that we'd be okay to move forward without it and to bring it forward again, perhaps, because it bears more discussion ultimately.
That was 4.3.
I think it was 6.3, Alex.
Can we confirm?
6.3 website and social media.
I can add in further discussion regarding repurposing Doors Open Facebook account is required regarding repurposing. Yeah, is that fine? So further discussion is required regarding utilizing Doors Open Facebook account.
Yeah, that sounds good, Virginia. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
so
it's number 5 under new business, 4.3, right? Like,
oh,
the
you know
same
what?
agenda?
You know what? I'm not sure what happened, but when they did the minutes, everything got that is weird.
Yeah, but Alex, I'm
Numbered.
looking at the minutes, so I'm checking the
Oh, I
minutes
see.
from the
Okay.
minutes of the last meeting, but I see what you're looking at now.
You know what?
Yeah, minutes and
Sorry.
agenda. Right.
Yeah, it'll be 4.3. Or it should be 4.3. My apologies. What happened, I think, in order to merge them into one PDF to put on the website, it auto renumbered them when I pasted the minutes in. So it took what I had done and I think it just renumbered them
wow.
automatically. Because you
Oh
can
my
see it's
God.
they've continued on.
You're right. I
Yeah.
feel your pain.
That's okay. So it would just yeah, so resolve that the minutes of May 16th meeting of the Heritage Booklet and Tours Subcommittee be approved as amended. With addition to item 4.3.
And with the renumbering, I guess.
Yes, yeah. And renumbering of minutes.
Well, actually the agenda needs to be renumbered as well.
No, the agenda numbering is
No, the new business is 4.1, 4.2, 4.3. It should be 5.1, 5.2, 5.3.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that changed too.
I know.
Okay, yeah, I'll fix that in the approval of the agenda.
So, Nicole, would you like me to make that motion?
Yeah, you can go ahead, Jamie. So Jamie moves. Is there a seconder?
I'll second. Nicole.
Thanks, Nicole. All in favor? All right, and that carries. Any pecuniary interests? No, none. Approval of agenda, resolved that the agenda of June 13th, 2024 Heritage Booklet and Tours meeting be approved as amended with the renumbering of new business.
I'll move.
I'll second, Tammy. And Nicole move, Tammy second.
Okay, all in favor? And then carried. All right. So under new business, pricing and format updates. So was able to get some pricing internally from our printing department. So if we did smaller batches of 250, about the same, so keeping the same format where we fold it in half, color, or there's options for black and white, depending, we could easily be doing them for about $160 per batch. So we could print small batches that way internally, and they have the capability to do so. It'll also allow us the flexibility if we have any additions down the road, because the other ones have lasted us a couple decades. So yeah, so that's kind of the pricing update. I know, Tammy, you were working on a little bit of formatting and kind of updating that document. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so first of all, I do love this book, but I have a hard time reading it. So my thoughts, and reel me back if I get too far because I get a little excited. I just want it to be a little bit easier to read, more graphic, but the same content. And like my goal in the end is to make it culturally appropriate for 2024 as well, and beyond. Essentially, I like the content of it. I would just like to reformat it. So changing up the cover page. I'm not sure if this is the best way for me to share what I've done, but I have classic like Google Slides. I can also share photos. So essentially what I was thinking, like the table of contents, we could do black and white, have the exact same content in there. I think I've added it to the screen. So you have the preface, you still have like a symbols legend, because you'll see further on that I have given everything symbols. So location has just a symbol, the erection date has a symbol, and we can explain those in the beginning. From there, I called it a timeline. I'm not really sure if that's appropriate, but it's sort of a timeline of where everything went. So as I show you this here, this is sort of the idea of the timeline, where they have like the legacy of the rapids, and then you have the people of the First Nations, onto the fur traders and missionaries, frontier settlement, and you keep going, but it sort of explains how to work through the book a little bit easier. And then as you keep moving, so our timeline graphic could look a little bit more fun. I found some other ideas online. Tell me if I'm going too fast. Again, I get really excited. So we could have other timeline graphic ideas. And I say timeline loosely because I realize it's kind of loose. But then we could have infographics and icons relating to each of the different significant events, which may be a little bit easier to work into the content later. As I was looking at the content, sorry, and then next would be, as I worked through the book, next for me would be a map of just the plaques. So we could do an interesting page of just the plaques on a map. Perhaps here we could add in a little bit of color. We could do a little, like some cooler graphics, but they're all numbered 1 to 59. So we can work with the numbering system and make the map maybe a little bit cooler to read or more fun to walk through, put some color into there, possibly. And
Sorry,
then for
sorry, Tammy.
Yes.
I guess while we're there with just because you mentioned color and graphics, And I know one of the items today, we are going to talk about pricing. Do you have any insight into those types of costs?
I personally don't. Virginia had a little bit.
Yeah, so being able to do them in-house in small batches is definitely a lot more affordable. So to do a similar number of pages, we're looking at about $160. If we increase the number of color pages, it's not going to go up too much. So we'd probably be still sitting at under 300 if we go full color.
Do we have budget for that?
Yeah, we do. So it's we'd be able to accommodate that within the operating budget for the committee.
Nicole.
I was actually talking with Will and sort of our staff here, and what if we do like a digital book, sort of like an ebook version, and that way all of Tammy's graphics can actually be interactive. Then you could click on the image and you get a geotag location, so you can actually go to that location and see it. You can interact with the timeline, and then if it's a digital version, you don't have the cost sort of like associated with printing, so you don't have to worry about printing it. It could be available on Kobo and Kindle and things like that. So it'll be a lot more sort of like user friendly in that way, interactive, and it'll like be a lot more enticing for like the younger generations. Like they can actually want to use it, so then it could be a little bit better that way, and that way you don't have to worry about like all these extra costs associated with it.
I like it.
I love that idea.
Absolutely.
I love your idea. I know Jamie will, like, I'm probably going to agree with Jamie because Jamie has her hand up, but like we will need paper copies. There's no, yeah.
Yeah, divide them. And see, I'm the type, like, in my office, there's 10 people. 3 of us will pick up a paper copy. The rest are all digital.
Yeah.
So you kind of factor it out.
Tessa, just from your standpoint, having something like that, what would be the implications from an accessibility standpoint on the city's website?
Yeah, this all sounds incredible and lovely, and I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. However, when we're talking about maps and graphs and small compartments of information, a screen reader is not able to read that whatsoever. So a screen reader, even if you put it through an accessibility check, it reads it from left to right as if our eyes were reading a document. So even a map, for example, would not be accessible for someone that may be using an assistive device like a screen reader, or potentially may have some vision impairments. So thinking about it in the lens of an accessibility perspective, having a paper copy is great, but when we go to the digital format, it needs to be converted in a way that's accessible to everyone. So whether or not someone is reading the paper version or the digital version, it should be a seamless transition. Everyone sort of should have the same access to the information, regardless of whether they have a vision impairment or not, regardless of whether they're using a screen reader or not. So maps in general will never really be accessible from the perspective of a screen reader or someone with a vision impairment. But with that said, we have maps on our website right now, like especially in terms of planning applications or street closures or whatnot. But we always try to look at it in the lens of an accessibility perspective. So when it translates to the website, is there another way that we can present this information that doesn't limit it to a map format? So for example, you talked about, I love the idea of the booklet, but perhaps maybe there's another way to look at the information in terms of like a video format or a script for each site where you could voice over the content, and there's a photo where people are talking about it. There could be a link to a QR code to our YouTube site so that someone that may be visually impaired could hear the information. So thinking about it in that perspective, if we're going to record the contents that are in the booklet, they could still have access to that information. So people can experience it online from wherever in the space that they're in. And then that content, let's say we turn it into a video format of some sort, it can be pushed out throughout the various seasons of Heritage Month or Museums Month or whatever. I'm always cognizant of the fact that we have to look at things through this lens of accessibility. And with our new website, in fact, we are looking at trying to eliminate a PDF format in any way possible. So if the information could just be made into a website, then let's do it as a website. Let's not keep making all of these PDFs that cause a lot of issues and concerns with people dealing with any type of accessibility.
So, question. There's certain websites such as like Flip. Like I had to do a portfolio, so we put it on Flip, and then you can click on the links. That would be more accessible, is what you're saying. Then you can click on the links to a video of the content, us reading the content or something like that.
Yeah, like not
in a way.
Not necessarily. Like as the city of Sault Ste. Marie, we're mandated to follow AODA compliance guidelines and WAG 2.0. I mean, I'm not entirely certain of the IT perspective of it all, but as a municipality, we are required to meet the accessibility standards. And if we're not meeting those standards, then there's very hefty fines that the municipality can incur because of that. So with that being said, I can't speak to the accessibility requirements of an outside, like an outside application like a Flip. I don't know what their capabilities would be in terms of accessibility. I just know that from the city's perspective, if anything is living on the city's perspective, then it's our responsibility to make sure that that content is accessible to everyone. That's all.
Okay. Okay.
So I think just summing up what Tessa shared, I think, the booklet format as a print version, we're good to go, right?
Definitely, yeah.
If we converted it into an ebook, that could be utilized in other spaces, just not off the city's website.
That's correct.
And then for the city's website, we'd have to look at how we take that content and, share the stuff that we can, but then have the voiceover or videos to make it accessible when it's loaded actually onto the heritage pages of the city's website. So there's kind of 3 parts there that we would have to look at doing.
Yeah, and if it is a booklet, I mean, then we could potentially share that booklet with a company that specializes in accessibility. There just may be a fee associated with transforming a booklet into an accessible format. So what that means is that if we're including pictures, for example, all of those pictures need to be tagged properly. So it can't just be like a picture in the midst of all this text. The picture would have to be tagged and identified as, this picture is a picture of a girl sitting in a field picking flowers. So it needs to identify what that picture is, every picture throughout the document, even the heading. So you'd have to consider what the font size is, or the image descriptions. Does it have drop-down expandable features? Is there copy included with the location that you're doing? So there are different elements when you're talking about the actual format, font, photos, all of that kind of stuff. But again, I'm not an expert in accessible materials. We would have to send that to a company that specializes in that and can transform the book for us, so that a screen reader then could pick up on all of the intricacies of that particular page.
I have a couple other little
Yeah,
slides
absolutely.
to share. Sorry.
No, that's great.
Uh,
I appreciate all your work on this, Tammy. This is, it's looking great.
It looks beautiful.
It's just a start. Thank you. It's just a start.
It looks great.
Okay. Thank you. So as we get into the plaques, we could maybe make the pages a little bit easier. So have them all consecutively numbered in the same graphic style. And then perhaps like it could be an icon they could click on. And then we have the location symbol, and then we have the erection date or the day that it was made a plaque kind of thing. And then each of them sort of look the same. It's a little bit easier. The format's easier to follow. So then after the plaques, the content kind of becomes the same. You can have the heritage buildings, again, map, sorry. But we could do it maybe more of like an isometric style, try something a little bit different, put it on a bit of an angle, maybe make the buildings 3D, maybe we can click on. It could be something different. So that was a thought I had there. And then the same thing, another map for the heritage buildings, and then the heritage buildings would get a little bit of a bigger space because they have photos of each of them. And then we have the location and then the date it was given as well. And then we can have a little bit of information about the content. And then of course we have the walking tour maps. I was thinking about maybe putting them in colors and then making the lines different to make them a little bit easier to see. Same photo from, oh, is it here? From this one. So we could do a two-tone map. So there's different walking tours or different colors or different patterns, stuff like that. And then of course you have the acknowledgements and the index and the figures, of course, in the end of the book. So those are my thoughts overall. InDesign has like book templates if we want to do it easier. But that was it.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Jamie had her hand up for quite a while.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Sorry, I've been
Sorry.
pretty tight minutes.
You, Alex. The longer that it stays up, the more I'm making notes. So I originally put my hand up because I agreed with a lot of what Nicole said, but then we've gone further from there. So I did have a question. I did want to clarify the price differential between a black and white booklet and a booklet that has multiple colors. Like it was a difference between 150 and 300, like it doubles.
Well, because the price per page increases. So the cost to print black and white is cheaper per page than the cost to print color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you have a dollar figure for that or just a generalization? And
I'd have to do the math on it, but it's a little bit more than double. So when they're quoting 125, we'd be looking at 300. And again, it's going to depend on the number of pages, right? So that was based off of our existing book with the existing number of pages. If we add extra pages, then the cost is going to go up as well.
Right. So I thought at the last meeting, we had thought that the printed book could be black and white and the ebook could be color. And that way that would help with the cost of the printed booklet. But that's more of a question than a statement. And my other thought was that if you have an ebook that is sitting on a server somewhere, the library could catalog it and have it in their catalog with a link. So potentially the book could be accessible to the public through a link on the library website in their catalog. And then the same, like I'd have to talk to Matthew McDonald about this, but based on my knowledge of online cataloging, it would work. But and then that way on the city page, you could just put a link to the ebook without actually uploading an ebook, a PDF file, and making it less accessible. Because I'm really sensitive to the accessibility issues, so I really get that. My last comment, I'll group them all together, and then I'll put my hand down. I'm also kind of becoming aware of what this might look like on a mobile phone. And I don't know how that, I don't use my mobile phone. I have one now, unfortunately. I call it an instrument of torture, but I think we, like the On Your Spot app that we have, I think we have to be acknowledging that people are going to be walking around with their mobile phone looking this stuff up, and it needs to be whatever map that we have or graphic or text or whatever needs to be readable on an iPhone as well.
Thanks, Jamie. Alex, I see your hands up.
Hi, friends. Sorry, I'm gonna have to duck out here soon too. I just had a question with Tammy and maybe the team. If we could, like, probably we're going to anyway, but include the like the Sault Ste. Marie logo.
Yes.
Make sure that's in there, and then whatever font Sault Ste. Marie is using, we're using the same font. Maybe that was
Yeah,
my.
keep it all graphically pleasing and use like if we are doing colors, we could use the colors of the logo and brand it.
I can share the design layout guidelines with you, Tammy.
I'd love that. If you guys are okay with it, I can keep working on formatting some pages and put the content that's in that book into this one, and then somebody can take it, and I don't mind.
No, that's great. Thank you for all your work on that.
No problem.
If you have questions on any of the cities like branding guidelines, I'm happy to help with that as well. But we could share that book with you. It actually identifies what the font is, what the colors are, like all the Pantone colors are all listed and coded.
Perfect.
So that would be super easy for you to.
Awesome.
And
yeah, no, that's when I do design.
Yeah, like if there's any of the elements that you want to use, like we have watermarks of waves or
cool.
tree bark, or like it's really good. This
In depth
logo, like there's lots of iterations that you could use with it. That's the word I was looking for. There's lots of ways to play with it.
Yeah, and then I can pull all of that in, and I'm curious about this accessibility stuff because that's basically 3/4 of my job is accessibility. So I'm gonna keep looking into how to do that online.
Yeah, and
there's ways.
Yeah, like don't let that necessarily discourage or hinder the work that you're already doing, because there are ways that we could, like we've just been working through a document right now that has beautiful imagery and lots of like words on top of things and pictures and stuff. But I think the goal in particular with that document is that essentially we would send it away for the proper accessibility checks. So if it comes back to us and they're like, ugh, this is, really difficult for a screen reader to get through, then we'll have to make some adjustments. But we're going to send it as we've designed it, with the intention of potentially making some edits along the way.
Okay. Are you able to give us feedback on what ended up having to change critically from there once you get it back?
Yeah, like once we go through it, for sure. Like I have, I'm looking over at my desk right now. This is like one example. It's just like a big, beautiful picture with text, all of this. So I'm not sure how this would read through a screen reader. I don't have those devices, but when we send it through, I'm curious even myself to know what that would sound like.
There's things that I just don't think about.
Yeah, there was, it's interesting, our IT, an employee in our IT department does these like monthly IT newsletter things. And one of the last ones that he presented to staff was regarding just like a regular poster that we all do, beautiful colors, pictures, all these like links and whatever. And then when you like tested it through like the Adobe Read Out Loud feature, all it caught was like one word. It was like contact,
Wow.
contact. So you're like, oh my gosh, this beautiful poster. You can't even, no one even knows anything on it. So
Mhm.
it's a really
Interesting.
interesting thing to kind of examine. And
Mhm.
sometimes even in Word, you could just do like a quick accessibility check, or through Adobe, you could just try to read your document out loud and see how it sounds.
Okay. Let me try it.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
very
fun to
intrigued.
fool around with for sure.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Just quickly on tours, I did have a chance to email the college. They do have a number of requests in for videoing at this time. So they've added it to the list. They are not going to know what their capabilities are until later in the summer, until enrollment's finalized. So they don't know how many students they'll have in the program. And then that'll, obviously, the number of students will dictate the number of projects they're able to take on and move forward with as part of their curriculum. So we should know more late August as they finalize their enrollment. Website and social media, I think we've covered off a number of pieces with that. The other one that was up for discussion was looking at that Facebook account that we had for Doors Open, and if we're looking at utilizing that in any way, or if we're gonna stay and utilize the accounts that are currently run by the city and have the Tessa's group share posts, as well
Yeah,
as
I don't mind
Alicia.
speaking to that if you'd like. I know all of us know this, but it takes a while for a Facebook profile to be having quite the following that we're looking for. I'm not sure what the following is on Doors Open, and the risk sometimes that we run with offsite accounts is that that page needs to be constantly monitored, updated, and like we have someone that it's their full-time job doing this, monitoring social media accounts, interacting with people that are engaging with the site, people that ask questions, monitoring all the feedback. So unless we're committed to maybe having someone dedicated specifically to that initiative forever, then I would probably maybe look at some of the resources that the city does have in terms of social media use. So we have over 17,000 followers already on Facebook. I'm not sure if a platform that currently exists would gather that many followers. And if they did gather that many followers, it would probably take us a few years to get to that place. In addition to, almost 7,000 followers on Instagram, we have our YouTube channel. Like these tools that we use from the corporation are these tried, tested, and true tools that have a dedicated resource attached to them. So just keep that in mind. I know we all get excited when we're looking at starting social media and talking about the projects that we're all super passionate about, but it really is something that requires time. It requires a resource in terms of somebody constantly monitoring the sites. So, just for example, I have two phones all the time with me. One is for the city of Sault Ste. Marie and one is for my personal. So unless we're prepared to go so far as to really monitor those sites, then that's great. But unless if we don't have a dedicated resource and someone that's committed to watching those sites constantly, you might even be doing a disservice. Because when you look at an account that hasn't been active even in a week, you kind of question well, what's going on? How come nothing's going on? This is boring. I'm moving to the next site. So things like that to just keep in mind. I know that that's helpful a lot when we're starting projects, especially getting them off the ground. If we realize that, wow, there's a really big following for this type of content and a lot of people are interacting with it and people want more information, then yeah, let's pivot and look at another way that we could reach this audience and have these special groups forming. But in the meantime, if we're just kind of testing the market to see what the appetite is for something like this, it may be worthwhile to just utilize the city's sites, just to kind of gauge what the perspective is of the community. Just something to keep in mind, that's all.
Thanks, Tessa. Alicia, did you want to share anything about the arts and culture, social accounts and website?
Yeah, just a little bit there. I was going to say that we have several thousand followers on the Facebook account for arts and culture. We have about 1,300 on the Instagram. It's been a couple of years to build it to that point, like you said. So that's consistent. I did take a look at some of the other previous accounts that we had talked about that you'd sent over. Unfortunately, it seems like most of them have, after a period of time, just kind of fallen off and aren't monitored anymore. So they're not as active. So I definitely see there being a really good opportunity to promote that type of content within the channels that exist, just because we'll continue to keep those going afterwards. And this is something that we can do over the shorter and long term. We can build a plan, build it into our current plan for me over in arts and culture. And that's something I'd be super happy and willing to work with.
Thanks, Alicia. Any other comments? No, we're good there. Okay, so that brings us to next steps. So I guess, Tammy, thanks for offering to continue to work on the booklet. Just sorry.
No problem.
And then I think, are we looking at, from a photo standpoint on the photos that are there, we'd need to pull together an image package for you so that we can
Yes,
start to
please.
look at incorporating those images. So that would be an action item on our side.
Yes, and then that branding outline for Sault Ste. Marie, that would be super awesome. And I'll just kind of start a template. We can change whatever we need to change.
If there are specific photos that you are looking at getting, if you wanted to like give us a list, we can start shooting some of those photos. If you're
Okay.
interested. Like, I don't know what the photo library is looking like for you right now. I know for us, it's always difficult to find the photos that we're looking for. But from now until about October is kind of the best time to get these photos if we're looking to do that.
Okay, I'll get on that
Really,
first then.
yeah, like
Perfect.
I don't
Yeah.
think anyone wants to see a snow-covered building.
No,
So
you're
keep
absolutely
that
right.
in mind too. Like if it's a nice day and things are looking really beautiful outside, it might be a good opportunity to snap a photo of like the flowers in bloom and the beautiful sunset or sunrise or yeah.
Perfect. Good idea. Okay.
The other item that we had talked about was one of the things I can have the summer students work on is looking to do a series of heritage posts that could be utilized on the social account so they can start to develop a bit of a draft, and then those can be rolled out over the course of the year. And our students could work with Tessa and Zoe to, make sure that they're branded properly and that and then we could bring them back to the group in the fall just for a review and to see, if there's any additional thoughts on what else could be included for that.
Awesome.
There any other items or thoughts before we move on? No, so just looking at potentially a next meeting, I think there's a fair amount of work over the next little while. So from that standpoint, when do you think would be a good time to meet again?
I probably need at least a couple weeks to do it,
Okay.
minimum. And it's the summer. But I would like to have it done for our meet. Like, are we going to meet again maybe in August or September? We don't really meet in August, do we?
The committee takes the actual municipal heritage committee won't meet until September.
Okay.
So yeah, that'll be the next meeting, unless there's something that comes up that I do need to bring to the committee so that we can facilitate it. Sometimes we do call a special meeting, but the next regular meeting will be first week of September.
So July is not great, but August would probably be fine. I can at least have something for August for sure.
Okay, what about uh what about the week of August 12th?
Perfect.
Okay, same day and time work? It'd be the 15th at noon. Chances are if we are not getting attendance because it's so far out, we can always make an adjustment to that.
Okay,
But I could put it in as a placeholder for now.
perfect.
Okay, so I think that's everything. Can we have a mover and a seconder to adjourn?
Just before we adjourn, I'm so sorry. I added the links to the branding guide in the comments, so you can all
Thank
see
you.
it there. It's all available on our city's website, so you could see our visual identity guidelines and all that fun stuff.
Wonderful.
Thanks,
Thank you
Thanks for
so
having
much.
me today. This was super fun. I loved listening to your discussion.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Tessa. Thank you for joining us. And then, yeah, so just a mover and a seconder to adjourn.
I can move.
Oh, I see Lise has her thumbs up and Tammy, all in favor. Carried. All right. Have a great day, everybody. And it's quite, oh, it's clouding over, but it was quite nice out earlier. Okay.